Okay, I believe now we can begin. So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to, as I said, yet another EUGLOH conference. My name is André Gomes, and I'm a PhD candidate in English Language and Literature at the Faculty of Philosophy, University of Novi Sad. And today I will be the moderator of this e-conference on the topic of quality education. This conference is a part of an ongoing series organized by the EUGLOH Alliance, focused on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. For this edition, the University of Novi Sad, Ludwig-Maximilians-Universität Munich, and Lund University decided to co-host a conference dedicated to exploring Goal 4 of the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which is quality education. Goal number 4 is dedicated to ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education, as well as promoting lifelong learning opportunities for everyone. Today, there are disparities in education, in its access, in its quality, and resources across the globe. Despite significant progress, millions of children and adults remain deprived of basic educational opportunities due to factors such as poverty, conflict, and discrimination. In today's conference, we will give extra attention to inclusion in education. Today, we're bringing together experts from two different universities, University of Novi Sad and LMU, and we will also hear from students from the EUGLOH University. As an attendee, you will receive valuable insight in the topic, and you will also get to engage through polls. Additionally, you will have time and space to exchange with our speakers towards the end of the conference. Now, I would like to introduce our first speaker. I suppose we are ready, Dr. Gomes. And I will give you his short biography so we can see his expertise. Dr. Gomes has extensive scientific and professional experience in the field of rehabilitation and reintegration of children with cancer, among other in projects in Portugal, Brazil, Finland, and Israel, children with autism in Scotland, and people with intellectual and physical disabilities in Germany, as well as orphaned and leprosy-affected children in India. At the University of Salamanca, he obtained his doctoral degree with the additional designation Doctor Europaeus in the Department of Sociology and Communication. His dissertation on the pedagogically valuable approach to children and adolescents with cancer was awarded by the university as the best dissertation among all dissertations submitted in the year of its submission. Dr. Gomes is a sports scientist and a physical education teacher who has been working with the topic of illness, especially with children with cancer, for more than 10 years. Today, Dr. Gomes works as a research associate at the LMU and is responsible for numerous scientific research projects with partner universities in Latin America and Africa, as well as in Europe, for example, in an Erasmus project with 7 countries on the topic of sports, health, and inclusion. Dr. Gomes, we give you the floor.
Thank you for the nice introduction. I welcome everybody here too. And today I will go talk about challenges and opportunities in terms of inclusion in the educational context. Angelica, can you see the presentation? Is that right?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. How I will present here how I see education and a little bit talk a little bit about my experience, not just at the university in Germany, but around the world where I do some work. And for start, I put this image that I really like, self-made man, that it's like I see education, yeah, or what you say, long life learning. I think everybody have to do the best for yourself in learning. In learning, it's like take away something that's not more part of your body, of our soul. In that way, I really like this image. Now, don't go yet. I brought for everybody here few example about education, what is education. And I think I just would like to resolve again what Angelica told me about me. I came from the pediatric oncology. I worked more than 10 years with children with cancer in many different countries. And I work in some places like in India, Laos, and I got a lot of opportunities to share with people with different cultural backgrounds. And I explain this just to say how I see education. And one of the principal authors for me, it's Ken Robson, when he explained that the education are to enable students to understand the world around them and the talents within them so that they can become fulfilled individuals and active, compassionate citizens. Paulo Freire, it's a Brazilian pedagogue, and he speaks a lot about the connection between education and humanity. Another important author for me is Krishnamurti. This is this book, it's in internet for free, and he writes something really beautiful about education. And it's not just to produce merit schoolers, technicians, and job seekers, but integrate men and women who are free from fear. For only among such individuals can there be lasting peace. And here you see how he connects education, humanity, and peace. In this point, I have to tell that since 2017, I am working here at LMU, and I'm responsible for the internationalization from our faculty, and I'm a member from EUGLOH. And I always, when I'm in these meetings with people from EUGLOH, I always see EUGLOH like a good way to improve cooperation between countries in Europe and in the world too. Because how we know science have many ways of thinking at a subject like education. In this sense, this presentation, I will talk about my way to see education in a scientific way, but I really would love to compare with the audience here another way to see education, or that you criticize my point of view about education, because I think we can grow up together with discussion. When I was young, with my 18 years old, I get this book in my hands. I was living in Brazil that time, from Ginot and his teacher and child. And I don't read this now, but I'd like that everyone read just a few seconds. In this point, I'm still with this book in my head, with this sentence, because I am suspicious about education too. Why you have in German so many anxiety, not just in German, but it's the context that I am working to. And we see a lot of fear in schools. And I ask myself what we do wrong, that the school is a place that it's not safe for the children. Or I ask myself why you have so many wars, like you see now. I don't speak about Ukraine or Gaza, but in Africa, many intelligent people killing innocent children. Yeah? I think it's a good point to we think about what is the goal of education in 2024, not just in Germany or the European Union, but around the world. And this is my critical point of view from education. And now I go explain to you a system thinking approach to education. This is something that I talk in my conference, that we need books, we need reference, and there are some reference for myself, for my students, like Marva Collins, Ken Robson. He have a wonderful video in books about creative schools. Dr. Krause, he speak about the travel of genetic, yeah? Because if you do here, Angelica, DNA test, we can see that you are brother and sisters. The same like say Buddha, Jesus, Akhenaton, the science say the same today. Yeah. Gardner with the multiple intelligence, this is something that we have to take care considering education. Nelson Mandela, Goleman and the emotional intelligence. Leo Buscaglia, he doesn't live more, but he had in California a discipline, and the name of this discipline is love. And I think this is a point that we just have to talk again in your educational context, Germany, Novi Sad, around the world, and not in the university, but also at school. Today we talk a lot about education, inclusive education in the context of university, about Finland, yeah, what they do so good and what you can learn with them, and Paulo Freire. They are people that, for me, it's something really important when you talk about education. And this is another book that I really love to read, that she's talk about how important is to nurture our humanity. And in this book, this woman explore the interaction between cultural society and the human brain. And she advocated the idea of that choosing partnership and cooperation can shape a more positive future for humanity. And in this sense, she write a lot about this. What you still have today is this problem between paternalism. Yeah? And I think this is a point that we can talk a lot about in your class, in your university, or in your schools. How can you have a better balance between the society, between countries, between schools, between neighbors? Because if you can see the history, we cannot grow up if you don't cooperate with ourselves, yeah, with your partners. And it's that way. I talk to my colleagues from EUGLOH that I really think that EUGLOH is a big opportunity, that we have to build something together from different countries in Europe. Now I give a jump about this from education to inclusion. And this is an interesting point that you have now, because we have people that think inclusion is an illusion, inclusion, and we are not sure in which way you are going in this theme of inclusion. Anyway, it's an endless history of supporting of marginalized groups, for example, persons with disability or with different abilities. We don't have too much time, and I will do this in my class. I can explain everything with more time. But this is a graphic when we came to the early ages, to the 19th century, until the old days. And you came from the extinction to exclusion, segregation, normalization, integration, and inclusion. And now you are really an interesting point that we don't know. Today we talk diverse as normality, but we don't know if what is the next step, or we don't know if you go the another direction. Yeah? And this is something that I talk a lot with my students here about this politics, because this is everything that we're talking here about politics, and we are in a strange time that we need really joint force with our students to go forward in inclusion. A definition and understand about inclusion. This is another theme that have a lot of controversy, and how I said before, I just bring here my point of view. And the goal of the inclusive education is the best possible development and academic support for each individual. And this is have to do with access, acceptance, participation, ensure personal development. Children have to arrive in the school in this point and have a goal, objective, and arrive in this objective. But for speak about inclusion, we are to talk about justice, yeah, not more about equality, equity, but justice. And this is something that we as European Union, we have to say that you have to do a lot to go forward justice with other countries in the world. And to come back to the quality education, I translate this is some facts about quality education. This is for 2022, when they say that 85 million of children they will not arrive in the school in 2030. We are failing, and this is something that we know already, and this is something that make me really sad that you put so big objectives, and you can see slowly, year by year, that you are not going forward or objective. 40% from women in sub-Saharan Africa are analphabet, and 27% of men. And this is, they have more informs internet that you can see that you are really, we don't have too much to commemorate with our objective 2023 in quality education. This year I was with 10 students from the LMU. Everyone are students to be teachers, and you have been in Tanzania. You have 2 weeks there doing exchange with teachers from Tanzania. And this is a reality that they confront a class with 150 students and 1 teacher, or we can visit schools like this. And at the same time, in Tanzania, they have a professor that cannot see, and they give support for around 12 students at the university that cannot see too. Also, this is another good side from the inclusive education in Tanzania, but at the university. Another country that I work together, it's Niger. This is not Nigeria, and this is what we built there, school with a pathway to wheelchair, a ramp, but when you see the road, they cannot arrive at school. Yeah, this is a paradox that we can try to do something, but we need advocacy and that the government work together to give access to the people at school. Another country with my work, it's Bolivian. And this is a class that I visited last year, where children with autism go together with the normal students at school. But in the same way, the teacher buy everything with her money to give support for the children with autism. And I think this is something interesting to say that our students from Germany, they get really big surprise when they travel, like now to Tanzania, that they see how students are working, learning together in a big school. Here in Germany, you have different ways of schooling, and the students are separate in many different schools. And in Tanzania, you can see that in Bolivia, that they are really better than us in this point. Now, the last part of my presentation, what can you and we do in this point of education and inclusion? And I think for everyone here, it's openness for the new things, courage to change. I think evaluated diversity. I always ask my students how many people with Fluchterfahrung, migrants or refugees they know, because you talk about including them, but how many people we know in this context. Diversity is normal. Could we see this too? In addressing barriers and resources in schools. I think this is something that everyone can ask to themselves too. Also, I prepared this slide for someone at school, but this is true for we here in this audience. Yeah, what are the barriers to learning and participation in my university or in my school? How experience barriers to learning and participation? How can barriers to learning and participation be minimized? What resources to support learning and participation are available? And how can additional resources to support learning and participation be mobilized? The next is something that I really think it's important for us. It's trust. Yeah, we just need to build community. When you think about inclusive education, you have to think about inclusive school culture or university culture, and have trust in your partner to develop potential of everyone in this process. And then I came again for the point of equality, trust, courage, compassion, and joy. This is the words that can fix or can slide us to the theme of inclusion and education. And I told you before, this is my point of view, and I am excited to listen what you have to say about this. Here is the QR code for the presentation. If you want, can you take it now? And here I have the literature and my contact, and I will go finish here my presentation. I think I arrive in my 20 minutes, and I thank you everybody for the audience. Stay here.
Thank you, Dr. Gomes. It has been very interesting. We greatly appreciate how thorough and engaging your presentation was. And we're looking forward to hearing more of your comments while answering to the students. And now, everybody, we will take a look at the first student video for today, where we have students from several EUGLOH universities answering the question. On a global level, what comes to mind when you hear quality education? So enjoy the video.
And when I think of quality education on a global scale, I would think of education that is accessible for everyone, not regarding their socioeconomic status or their sexual orientation, for example, or their skin color. So for me, that would be just giving equitable access to everyone to lifelong learning.
For me, it represents the level of education of the professor and the way they transmit the knowledge.
quality education on a global level encompasses accessible, inclusive, and equitable learning opportunities that foster critical thinking, creativity, and lifelong skills, preparing individuals to thrive in a rapidly changing world.
When I think of quality education on a global level, I'm thinking about an education which is accessible for everybody, no matter what they believe in or what they identify as, where they come from, where they want to go, no matter how much help they might need or accept, no matter if they fulfill social expectations or academical requirements. And I guess I expect an education which adapts to the learners so that the learners do not have to adapt to the education or the educational system.
Well, we thank all of the EUGLOH students, and to their view, there were definitely several keywords such as accessibility, adaptability, diversity, and so on. And it was, I suppose, very insightful to you, as it was for me, to hear the voices of the EUGLOH students. Now, we would like to hear from you in the audience. So we will launch now a poll where you get to answer similar questions, but more related to academia. And you will see that the questions include: how effective do you believe your university is in promoting inclusive and equitable quality education for all? I suppose the poll is there, and I will give you a few moments to answer. Okay, I believe this gave you all enough time to really reflect on the questions that were posed in this poll. And now, actually, I would like André, Professor Gomes, to give certain comment on the results of the poll. Thank you all for answering to the poll as well.
Let me see the answer. It's away from my things here. But I just saw the last one first, that funding, and I think this is correct. We need, when I was in Tanzania now, I was giving a conference for 35 teachers about inclusion, and one of them asked me, Professor, how can I give I work with inclusion if I have 150 students in my class? And sure, who have the answer of this? And I just thinking, yeah, chocolate cake, yeah, and you start to say what we need to do a chocolate cake. It's main ingredients that I didn't know, to be honest. And then I said, to do inclusion, we need not just teacher training, but we need money to build schools. We need money to pay teachers. We need money to buy computers for schools. And I think this is something that I think have enough money in the world. Yeah, it's just not good shared, because we see now how many money the countries give to war, and how few money they give to inclusion or to education. That way, I think the problem is not the money, the problem is the interest of our politicals and give a better education to the society.
Okay. Do you have access? Do you see all the poll questions?
No, I don't see.
No. Would you like me to help you with that?
Yeah.
So for the very first question, how effective do you believe your university is in promoting inclusive and equitable quality education for all? Most people said it's moderately effective. So 65% said it's in moderation. That would be the first question. I will read all three, and then you can maybe give a final comment. Number 2 is, which aspect of quality education do you think needs the most improvement? And the very high ones are quality of teaching and learning resources. That's one. And the second is support for marginalized and disadvantaged students. So very high percentage of people think that quality of education and learning resources are not good enough, and that we need to support marginalized and disadvantaged students. Also, there is a problem with access to education as the third place. And finally, for the question, what is the biggest barrier to achieving quality education? 57% of people said insufficient funding and resources, followed by inequality and lack of inclusivity, and 17% said inadequate teacher training. Yeah.
And I think one word to explain out what the people answer here is justice. I think this is the word that you have to go away in this conference with in mind. Yeah, how can you have a better word with more justice? Because when you talk about inclusive education, we talk about justice. Teaching training is something that I am sure that your university, my university, we can do a lot if we want to do. We can do a lot to support another university around the world in this point of teaching training and learn with them. Why you don't do so much? Don't ask me, I don't know. I am the only one in my faculty that are engaged with this theme with Africa and Latin America. Sometimes we see education just like my Munich, Bavarian, and I think we have to. When I think I say because you're with the EUGLOH students here, you just have to think more bright and see the world or the humanity like our brothers and sisters. But like how I say, this is my point of view of education and how I think about our role in the university and in this thematic of inclusion in the education. I think everybody can contribute in all places.
Okay, thank you very much. This was very inspiring. It really kindled all the inner emotions that we had in terms of our passion for education. So thank you very much for your answers. And once again, I would like to thank all the participants who answered the poll. And now it's time to introduce our second speaker for today, and that would be Mirjana Lalovic. Dr. Mirjana Lalovic is associate professor who obtained her PhD degree from the Faculty of Sciences, University of Novi Sad, in 2015. Since 2009, she has taught laboratory sessions in general and inorganic chemistry courses. She held positions of research trainee, research assistant, teaching assistant, and assistant professor. Since 2017, she has taught lectures in Introduction to Laboratory Practice, Coordination Chemistry, and Advanced Inorganic Chemistry. The focus of her scientific interest is synthesis and physiochemical and structural characterization of new transition metal complexes with bioactive Schiff-base ligands. Recently, she extended her scientific research to the field of MOFs. Her research group is currently working on one international and one national project designing novel complex compounds for versatile applications. She is also a member of Serbian Chemical Society, Serbian Crystallographic Society, as well as the European Crystallographic Association. Mirjana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Angelika, for your kind introduction. I will share my presentation first. Okay, here it is. I hope you see it.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about building foundations for success. It's really an honor to be part of this event, and it's my first time presenting and being involved in EUGLOH conference. So forgive me if I maybe speak too much, because I have so many things to make you pay attention to. I will talk about my experience from Serbia, and I do not have so rich experience when we talk about worldwide as Dr. Gomes. So it was really great hearing all the facts that he has shown us. So I will also try to stay on the bright side and tell you about how people in Serbia dealt with real struggle and real problems, mainly by connecting themselves, networking, and without telling you and tiring you with some money issues and all of that the government needs to do. So I'm just a scientist. Something that I haven't planned to say, but I think it's great for the beginning, has something of a touching point with something Dr. Gomes said. So a few days ago, my son went to sleep crying because he was learning about what happened in Kragujevac in 1941. And he was so touched by the fact that some soldiers killed the kids. So he was crying, and his teacher told him, "Oh, don't cry, you're a boy." And that's one problem that we have to deal with when talking about building foundation in education. And the second problem is not teaching the kids that it's not all black and white. It's mainly gray. And those soldiers are not the one responsible. They were just in a situation they had to choose for their own life or life of someone else. So we should educate students and make them be human, and then make them be experts. So this is what SDG 4 stands for. But prior to analyzing what we have done and what we should do, we should define our sphere of interest, and that's education. Unfortunately, for the majority, it's just another competition and the scoreboard, and we want to be the first or just in the middle, and we definitely do not want to be last. The problem here is that we cannot quantify the quality. So we should think of education as a home that we are building, mainly starting from elementary school, then going to high school, and fortunately, many of us to the university. Somehow we manage to forget the very foundation of our education, and that's preschool education, where socialization is born. Also, some of us with much enthusiasm like to go on PhD studies and postdocs. And all of us, whether we like it or not, keep learning from experience. So my other son saw this illustration and said, oh yeah, great one, Mom, that's a good point, because all of you nerds are burned out during your PhD studies, let even postdocs. And that was a great remark, because it made me think in illustration that chimney represents that matter have to change its state to get out of the house. But in real life, we have to change our state of mind when going from our safety bubbles. And that's what we need to embrace. This house won't be livable in without cherishing real values like critical thinking, inclusion, and empathy. So those would be our windows to see the world, and those would open us new opportunities that we should look forward in future and in our life. So having that defined, let's start with the very basement, preschool education. I will show you those sub-goals of SDG 4, and I will try to present the level of its realization in Serbia, some means of realization, as well as some problems that are currently to deal with, and some ideas about what every one of us in education could and should do. So as you will see, in Serbia, the situation is satisfactory or good. Somewhere it's outstanding, somewhere it's almost unsatisfactory, but in general, we can be satisfied with what we have. Means of realization are going to be different for different levels of education, but I don't have time to address all of it now, but just want to keep it there for you to read. So what about the problems? What about the issues we have to deal with? In preschool, we have the problem of staff. The problem of staff comes from crowded cities and almost empty villages, and we don't have enough staff to look after all the kids in daycare. Then we have the programs that are implemented from elsewhere without getting them optimized for our culture. So our kids not good for those programs. You will see that the problem of old buildings will keep repeating itself when we go through these sub-goals, but that's something we have to put large effort into, because the waiting list for getting new buildings or new windows or new doors are really, really long. And also we have some prejudice that we have to fight with. How can we try to overcome these issues? By motivating the staff, by carefully choosing the programs that we use, and by including art, sports, and science activities. The latter, science activities in preschool education, is something that our faculty and our Department of Chemistry, Biochemistry, and Environmental Protection is really putting much effort into. So we are very often present in preschool, in kindergarten, doing some interesting experiments with chemicals from everyday life. Then going to elementary and high school, this is what SDG 4.1 says. We have similar situation as in preschool education. We have networking with universities, with networking with NGOs, and educating boys and girls in school through many workshops about some hot topics that are really important. The issue of staff remains. However, new issues come ahead here. So we have reading, writing, and speaking issue, and that's the majority says that's because of the screen time. Then we have the problem of social media, book costs, again, old buildings and laboratories and gyms. What are the ideas to overcome these issues? Use screen time wisely. Let them think they are playing games and make them learn through playing those games. Then be present on social networks. Our faculty and our department is having great time recording videos and making interesting posts for social networks. So please, I ask you to follow us and see something interesting from the area of chemistry and science in general. Then we have book costs, all buildings and laboratories and gyms. Book costs are addressed in some cities by government, and we have lower book costs, but in some smaller areas, it's not the case. Also, we from university try to deal with this issue, laboratories, and open the door of our laboratories to students from elementary and high school. Now we are old enough to go to university, and the situation is from some point of view better, but from some point of view new problems appear. So we have a problem that we have to deal with, that not many students like science, let even love. So what is that we can do? We try to promote publishing ebooks, and that's the way that we are going to lower book costs, and also that's the way we are going to protect our environment. Also, we have some travel issues because students from university centers can study from home, but the other ones have those travel and accommodation issues. So online teaching is something good that came from a dark period of pandemics. And by using online teaching, not as main resource of teaching, but as additional way of teaching, should help prevent all those issues and should include more students in lectures. Then new issues are because our kids are very often used to private lessons and tutors. So sometimes they lack of self-confidence, and also because of the financial situation of schools and university, some of our students cannot get enough practice of some of the newest instruments. However, this is something they learn really fast, and our students are really wanted from the universities and institutes abroad. Somehow, these issues lead to issues in obtaining the results in 4.4 sub-goal, and that is something we have to keep fighting with. When we talk about sub-goal 4.5, I think that we can say that we have done a lot of work on inclusion, but we have more to do. We have realized some projects for students with social disadvantages and enabled them to have some additional lectures prior to choosing their faculty. But we still have some smaller issues to deal with, and that's again prejudices. It's easier to work with girls. The boys have attention disorders or something like that, so it's really present during elementary and high school. But I have to brag about that we did a great job in including girls in football and in basketball, but we are far from including boys in dances and ballet. Building approach still remains the issue, but apart from goodwill, we need much money for it, so we will keep fighting. Then we should talk about literacy and numeracy. Serbian language is rather a difficult one, so I wasn't encouraged to say whether this is on satisfactory level or not, because what I don't like is not enough youth and population can use a language correctly. Something good that we have done is enabling minorities to cherish their culture and get education using their mother language. So that's something I don't think that any other country could say for themselves. By doing all this, we should ensure that we have achieved some of those goals represented in 4.7. And those 3 sub-goals are still to be addressed. Goal 4B is pretty much addressed already, and we have numerous scholarships and our students abroad. But a problem here is that we need to get those students back. So not just let them into the world, but make them come back to the home they have built here. So what I want you to take from this presentation is that everything counts, and you can make the difference even on local level, but you will make those foundations for success better. Whether it's painting some play parts in kindergarten or planting some tree, do something that counts, even if in your own yard. And what I cannot stress enough is that we need students, youth, and future population to be problem solvers, not definition learners. So this would be the end of my presentation, and I want to thank you all for your attention, and to thank you, EUGLOH, for giving me the opportunity to express my opinion and my experience, and I hope you liked the story of our University of Novi Sad. Thank you.
Dear Mirjana, this was wonderful. It was a highly educational presentation, which offered great insights into how the University of Novi Sad is dealing with, and in general, Serbia dealing with all the questions that matter when it comes to the quality of education. And now it's time to view the second video with our EUGLOH students. In this video, students have answered the question, to you personally, what makes education stand out as quality education? So let's take a look. Enjoy once again.
Quality education to me personally means learning that inspires curiosity, critical thinking, that's inclusive, and is operated in an engaging environment.
For me, quality education is well-organized teaching, good conditions, and the desire to progress. When I hear quality education, it means to me that there are certain standards that apply to every institution and that education is accessibly and equally supportive for every child, no matter their cultural or religious or social background.
For me personally, quality education is really about having an environment in where you are happy to learn, where you're supported to learn with maybe really inspiring teachers. Also that the curriculum is maybe connected to current events that are happening on a global scale, that the education institution is also taking care of mental health of the students, being supportive, and yeah, just giving access to everyone disregarding their backgrounds.
Once again, we are thankful to our EUGLOH students for the insightful ideas and views on education. And now it's once again time for you, dear audience, to answer questions. This time, the question is, in your opinion, what is the biggest barrier to achieving quality education globally? Once again, we will give you a few moments to answer the questions. Thank you, dear audience, for answering the questions posted in the poll. Mirjana, I would like you now to answer and comment on the choices given by the audience. So just let me know if you can see the poll, or should I read it? Okay.
Yes, I can. Okay, so for the first question, I think that it's up on the individual because we have ways of getting informed about gender equality issues. So that's why we don't have those not informed ones. Then how big of an issue is gender inequality in your society? We have very significant and then somewhat significant and unsignificantly not significant. So very significant or somewhat significant. It's interesting choice because I myself have not experienced this gender inequality working at university for 15 years now. Apart from some personal comments of some not so important people, but I think this is an issue that we are working on, and that we have so much more female professors and female scientists and females in academy. So I think that we are on the good path, but the travel is long and is the success is taking time, I think. However, I think that, and I said that during my presentation, something that we do not pay attention enough is that in schools, girls are better and easier to be taught, because you have to pay, sometimes you have to pay special attention to some boys, irregularly ones, and our staff is not motivated enough to make some challenges for those boys to learn better. So we have also that problem in our society, as I see it, and I have 5 years of experience in high school as high school teacher, so I think we should pay attention to that also. Have you personally witnessed or experienced gender-based discrimination? I have answered this already, so I won't repeat myself. I know it's present, but apart from this school part that is not so alarming, I do not think I have experienced it. I had 2 boys prior to my PhD dissertation, so maybe that's the right answer. And I did the dissertation and all afterwards, so I think I was okay with it. So do you think there is enough emphasis on gender equality in education curricula? You mainly answered no, and I'm really disappointed that you don't have the experience as I have. So, but I hope that you see now how bright in Serbia the situation is. So that would be my comment, and I really hope and will try to make people aware of those remaining issues to be dealt with.
Thank you, Mirjana, for all the comments.
Welcome.
It was really lovely to hear you tackle all the questions. And now it's time to give the floor to our audience. So, dear audience, you can type your questions in the QA chat related to this topic. Yes, please write them in the chat. We will read them out and our panelists will answer them. Take your time, take a minute, and then we will begin. Okay, dear audience, it seems that Mirjana and André have answered all your questions, so you don't have any. Therefore, I would like to wrap up this e-conference to thank the audience for their participation, their reactivity, and relevant insights into the world of education. I would also like to thank our panelists for their amazing presentations, their commitment and their dedicated work to the topic, not just in the academic sense, but also in the world out there, as well as for their efforts to really make quality education a priority. Finally, I would like to thank the University of Novi Sad, Ludwig-Maximilians-Universität Munich, and Lund University for co-hosting this conference. Thank you all, and I hope that you gained some valuable insights from this conference. See you on the next EUGLOH event.